Danko, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Everything is good. How is Canada?
Warm.
It's nice. It's nice if you like warm weather, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's kind of scary because it shouldn't be this warm in Canada at this time of year, but nobody's complaining.
And let's talk about your European tour. You guys are doing a second run after the album release. You're coming back to Europe. You're playing Lisbon October 14th. For those who never watched a Danko Jones show live and they haven't gone on YouTube, they're going to be there for the first time. What can they expect from a Danko Jones show?
I mean, I don't know. I'm on stage, so I've never seen one. But I mean, we're just gonna play our rock songs. We really go on tour with no frills. We just have the songs. But it's kept us alive for all these years. So there's something in the songs and maybe this the way we perform them that keep our band coming back and keep our band afloat. So that's, I mean, I'm not a really good salesman for trying to get people to come to the show. Seriously, I'm not. I just kind of feel like if you like the music, which is the business that we're in, and you want to hear it live, then come to the show. Pretty much, you know.
Yeah. And your latest record, the Electric Sounds, was released last year. It was the first album after a pandemic. What did you learn from the pandemic? Uh,
Actually, no, it was the second album released.
Second, well, Power Trio was released in 2021. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that was released during the pandemic, I guess, but since COVID, we've released two albums.
Yeah.
So,
And
and we've gone on tour for both of them.
yeah, what changed or what did you learn from that pandemic when it comes to music and the songwriting process? Because I mean, I guess a lot of people couldn't be together and all that. Did you believe that you could write songs without being together?
Well, yeah, now we used to live in the same city before the pandemic, and now we're all scattered. We all move, or I didn't move. I stayed here in Toronto, but JC moved to Finland and Rich moved to PEI, which is Prince Edward Island, which is a province on the way east coast of Canada, very far away. It's like a 3 hour plane ride to get there. So we're not exactly in the same city. We're not in the same room anymore. So a lot of the songs, well, all the songs are getting written like Power Trio and Electric Sounds by sending files to each other. It's a lot of emails, but slowly the songs come together.
Yeah.
And Rich can be in PEI way out there and record a drum track. And so he's got a setup at his place where he can record drums on demos that JC puts together. And I'm here in my place, and it all starts with like a guitar, like a loose arrangement that I make up with a melody and the riffs and the guitar riffs, and I send it to JC, and then JC takes it and then just completely scrambles it and turns it upside down. So if you go back on all the songs on all our albums, if you go back all the way to the beginning, and the nub of what I sent to JC, it's not the same song. So usually, no, not usually. I'd say like every other song that, no, not even. Like, I mean, I'll send JC 10 song ideas, and really only one or two are good. One or two he'll work on, the rest, he's just like, this isn't good enough, or this is almost there, and I keep throwing him stuff till he hears something, and then he arranges all our songs. So
Yeah.
there's so many songs where I've said, okay, so this is the verse, chorus, verse, whatever, and he goes, no, actually your verse is your chorus. So I just, I throw my hands up in the air.
But that's always an interesting, learning process when you think of an idea and then someone says like maybe it worked the other way around, and it kind of helps you improve as a musician and as a songwriter as well. Because maybe next time, I'm just presuming, maybe next time you will try to put yourself in his mind. What would he think if I play like
No, I don't.
you don't?
If I try to be something I'm not, and I try to be him, then we have two versions of him, or he does the same to me. We have two versions of me, and my version of him is never going to be as good as him. So I just try to do my own thing. I just write riffs and come up with melody lines and um and see where it takes me. Guitar riffs aren't really for me are have never been hard to come up with. I mean, I can come up with a few every day and make them into songs every day. I just don't have the time to do that, but I can if you give me the time. But I it's just a matter of also our standard is really high.
Yeah.
So I think, like out of the 10 songs that I send JC, maybe another band would take six or five of them or seven of them. But we don't like, and I get it. Like, and I'm not married to it. I send it as soon as I can before I get married to something. Because once I'm attached to it, then it's hard for me to just listen to it objectively.
Yeah.
So I just make sure that I send it off as soon as possible. Yeah, so look, over the years, like we have 11 albums and we have three other albums of compilation compiled songs from here and there. So there's a lot of material, a lot of songs. And so I don't feel any pressure when we put out their next album because you're only as good as your last one. I never feel the pressure, but I am aware of the standard and
Yeah.
the standard that we hold as in terms of, I know we get criticized by music critics all the time about our albums. I don't care. I mean, I can do circles around most music journalists on music. So I personally, and it's very arrogant of me to say, but I think most people writing, present company excluded, obviously, but I think most people who write or revolve around music who aren't in bands who just in the service of critiquing music, they just don't have. I know it sounds arrogant, but they don't have the listening experience or to know. Like that's why I stopped reading reviews is because I would get so frustrated that someone who is reviewing our album has no idea of the references and the music that we're taking from.
Yeah.
So how can you possibly critique this music when you don't even know its history and you don't know what you're talking about? So I don't read reviews. I just do interviews and hope to God whoever I'm speaking to knows about music.
Yeah.
And actually and so recently I've just said only recently, which I should have done like 15 years ago, I don't want to do interviews anymore because not because I don't want to talk about our band and promote our band, but it's a waste of time if you're talking to somebody who doesn't know anything about the music they purport to know about.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, that's my little rant.
Yeah, but it's I talked with Steve Vai last year, and I was talking about, I don't do bands reviews of albums because I'm not a musician. I cannot put myself in his shoes. I'm not going to criticize something I'm not able to do. And when I talked with Steve Vai, he told me there's only one or two journalists that he would accept a critique because that they know I understand the music. Otherwise, he doesn't pay attention to anyone else critiques because, again, I'm not able to write a song, so why I'm going to say, oh, it sucks or sounds whatever. I cannot do that. I enjoy music, I love music, and that's my passion. And if it does something to me, great. If it doesn't, I won't listen, I move to something that I enjoy. And that's for
Yeah,
me.
it's really subjective. I mean, it's a subjective, I mean, it's art, right?
Yep.
So it's subjective. So anyone kind of like, and of course, I'm aware that I'm being defensive as well when I read negative reviews, but like, there's been a few negative reviews where I'm like, touche. Okay, you just don't like our band. I get it. You got all your references right and you know your stuff. Okay, you proved your point. Um, but usually it's not like that. I'd say 99% of the time, a negative review floats by my transom because and I pay attention to it and I don't like it because the writer is projecting something of their own shit onto me. Especially when I read reviews, whether it's live or album reviews about how oh, I think, oh, he thinks he's like a manly man and manly man. And I remember this one guy just writing this live review of our show and how I just thought I was this man's man. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? I'm just playing. What's these are your issues, like your own. You are projecting this shit onto me. I'm just playing these songs, like and so and also you are not aware that of performance and there is a certain level of performance. Even, you mentioned Steve Vai, like it's like me going, oh, what does he think? He's so great at guitar and he's sticking his tongue out and making faces and all. Yeah, it's performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so yeah, I don't know how we got on this tangent, but
Yeah.
but I just don't read reviews. Having said that, when we go in to make a record, or when we start writing songs and then we start recording the record, there's a lot of critiquing that happens within. Like
Yeah.
JC will critique me, I'll critique myself, Rich will critique our producer, whoever it is, Eric or Garth or whoever will critique the songs and hammer them, hammer them until they're chiseled into songs. And if you don't keep your ego in check and you don't realize the process, then things can get really hairy. So I've learned over the years to just like let the process live with you have to live with the critiques and understand it's for the betterment of the song and the album and the band. So yeah, it's these are things that a lot of people don't realize when they get into wanting to be in a band. And as much as it is a parade of ego, like a parade of superego on stage, and some sort of like a flaunting of it, or some sort of pageantry of a superego, it's also the real work is keeping your ego in check.
Yeah. And when you write a song, when you finish a song, do you envision playing that song live? Imagine if it's this song actually is going to work really well live. Do you have that perception normally when you finish writing a song or an album, let's say, and you say, okay, these songs here and there on the set list, they're going to work well?
Yeah, every song that we write, we don't write for singles or radio. You just write a bunch of good songs that you think are good. But every song you write, at least for me, when I'm coming up with riffs, I'm thinking about, how is this going to go over live? Like, how does this sound? How is this going to sound live? Whether we end up playing it or not, because, we've got 11 albums and we own it, as much as the discography keeps growing year after year, the set time always stays the same. You're always going to be either 30 minutes to 75 to 90 minutes. It's never going to be a 7-hour show.
Yeah.
So only a few songs get played, and you have to satisfy people who want to hear the songs that brought them there in the first place, their entry points. And you want to play the new songs, but you can't play all of them because if you do, no one will know what the fuck you're playing. And then you want to play some songs that, you want to play because to entertain yourself, really.
Yeah. And
so, yeah.
And that's I always imagine like when you have like 11 records to pick a set list, you have songs, as you were saying, that you enjoy, that you have to play because you love the song. And then you have to think about probably the fans that more or not a fan favorite. Is it complicated to build a set list around all that, especially when you have a new album and you have to promote it as well?
Yeah, and yes and no. I mean, there's songs that we're gonna have to play till we're finished. So that makes it easy in terms of like 4 or 5 songs we're always gonna play. And then there's always going to be songs off the new album. So that's, anywhere between one song or three songs. On this Electric Sounds album, we've been playing four songs, which is a lot. Um, and then the past songs, which, you can mix and match. So no, I don't know. I don't write the set lists anymore. JC writes all the set lists, and then um, he runs it by us before the tour or before a show. And, if there's a song that Rich and I don't want to play or we're not rehearsed enough, we just go, I don't want to play that song. And then he'll just swap it out. There's a few songs that I really don't like playing. And every now and then they'll make their way back into the set list, and I'll always say, like, I hate that song. I don't want to play it. And it will end up getting played because, eventually you have to put it back into the set.
Yeah. And when you're in the studio recording and when you're going play live, does your gear changes much from studio to the live setting?
Yeah. When you're in the studio, you're trying to get the best sound. And sometimes your live guitar doesn't sound as good as, like, a $12,000 Les Paul. I mean, there's a reason why it's that much, or not to put down my live guitars, because that's not happened. I actually play. The reason why I'm on Hagstrom is because when we were doing a Rock Supreme album, I got Hagstrom at a pawn shop on a break during the recording, and I ended up using that guitar for almost every solo on that album, and it caused me to reach out to Hagstrom and go, like, this, your guitars are awesome. And since then, actually, Hagstrom guitars I've used on album, but when I haven't, it's when I was playing Explorers live, and in the studio, Explorers, it just didn't sound good,
Yeah.
so yeah, it just depends on yeah, in the past we've had albums where there's, like, been a row of guitars which we've we've borrowed from friends or the producer brings in, and they're really, really high-end guitars, and they're amazing. um but my guitars live, or back then, they were more workhorses
Yeah.
live, and it just doesn't sound good on record for some reason.
Yeah. And live, you still prefer to use amps, like proper amps, because today with technology, with Kemper and whatever digital stuff, you can replicate, emulate an amplifier sound. Do you still prefer to use the amps live, or are
I've
you?
never used a Kemper. I don't even know what the hell that is. I've heard the name. I don't even know what that is. I use a head and a cabinet, usually orange because endorsed by them. If we can get it, but sometimes on flyouts, or festivals, you can only use the festival provided gear. But we usually try and make sure that they're orange heads and cabinets. Um, I mean, truth be told, I'm really picky about the heads and cabinets, and I won't put down other brands. But yeah,
It sounds great.
sometimes I walk on stage going, "Damn, I wish I was, like, playing my gear." Um, but I don't even know what Kemper. I don't even know what that is. I'm not a gearhead, so I don't know any of that stuff. But I remember we played with this one band. They opened for us in France, just this one-off show. It was like a radio show, and they were, like, I don't know where they were from, but man, they had all the haircuts and they had all the look down. They had all the shirts and the jeans. Everything was pristine and perfect, and they had no amps. And I was just like, well, where is the sound coming from? I don't even know what the hell's going on. I don't know. I'm old school, so I don't really want to know any of that stuff. So
Yeah. No, I was just curious because, yeah, because one of the disadvantages of that digital stuff is, like, when you're playing a small club, if you're really in the front, you don't get any sound. You just hear vocals, you hear the drums, and that's it. Unless you have the speakers of the club, in your
I mean,
direction.
I wear in-ears for my voice and to hear instead of monitors on stage. And because of that, if you are near the stage, like behind on stage, you won't hear the vocals very
Yeah.
very loud, because the other guys, I know JC doesn't get my vocals in his monitor, so you can't really hear it if you're standing side stage. But whatever, if you're out in the crowd, you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Cool. Danko, thank you very much for your time. All the best for this European run. I'll see you in Lisbon, October 14th at Lisboa Vive, Love, as it call. And, looking forward to see you again. It's been a while since I last, actually, it hasn't been that long. You played as a support for, I can't remember, was at the Coliseum. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it was Volbeat. That was
Yeah,
2019,
Volbeat, yes. That was the last time.
5 years ago.
Yeah. So looking forward to see you again and all the best. See you in Lisbon. All right. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.